What's going on, guys? Jacoborth back here with another video of Jacob's Life in Vegas, coming to you guys with a video today that is all about gratitude. And it's a little bit of a bright day today, so it's definitely justifiable to be wearing the shades. Today's video I had thought about actually some time ago, and I just thought it'd be something good to do because it's gonna be about people who don't usually get a lot of recognition. So I want to break this into 6 categories, and there's, I'm sure some of this overlaps when it comes to these categories of people, around the Vegas area who I think deserve a big thank you. And, 2 things I'll say before I get into this list. One is that this is, not an exhaustive list, okay? I'm sure there's other people we could find to thank and other people who do a great job and are very important, but I just, had this list that came to mind. And then 2, this is in no particular order, okay? I'm gonna go 1 through 6 here, but I don't have, it's not any kind of ranking or anything like that. So guys, also be sure to subscribe to the channel because I've got a lot of good stuff coming in the future. So the first group of people that I want to give a thank you to here in Las Vegas are a lot of the people who do the behind the scenes work that helps keep our local economy running. So particularly things like people who work in the hotels, the casinos, in the airport, people who do lots of the landscaping, in the tourist spots and around town, people who do a lot of the work that help make the properties nice, that make them clean, that make them presentable. Because obviously, you need people who are gonna put up the money or take out a loan to have one of these big casinos built, right? You need a management team who's going to take on the stress of, having to be responsible for thousands of employees and things like that. You need that. But when you look at these properties, you look at how clean they are, how nice they are, those floors don't sweep themselves, those windows don't clean themselves, the plants don't water themselves, the beds usually don't make themselves unless you're nice enough to make your own bed when you're here on vacation. You have the housekeeping staff who does it, you have the cleaning crew who does that. A lot of people who do that work in the early morning hours and late hours when, most people are sleeping, they do a lot of that work so that when you get up to start your day, you notice how nice and clean everything is. And that first came to me in a video I did, oh man, maybe a year or more ago now, where I was walking the strip in the morning time, in the early morning, and someone had commented on how nice and clean the streets are that early in the morning. I'm like, yeah, because there's people out cleaning it that night on the strip and Fremont Street, all over this area, so that when you wake up here on vacation, you have a nice clean street to walk on, you have clean sidewalks. So people do a lot of that kind of behind the scenes work, for the tourists here on vacation, but I just don't think get a ton of credit. So yeah, if you're doing any of that kind of work, you're taking out the trash or anything like that, you're working at the airport, helping process millions of people coming in and out of Las Vegas every single year, thank you. Thank you for all the work that you do in that regard. The second group I would like to give a big shout out to, a big thank you, are people who work in construction. Construction is a big industry here in Southern Nevada and really in the state of Nevada in general. When you see lots of construction going on, that means the area is growing. That means people are moving here. That means, buildings are being built for jobs to be created, for businesses to open up, for schools to open, for all kinds of things like that, for obviously new hotels and resorts to go up as well, and those kind of things. So, when you see construction, obviously a lot of it's not glamorous work and that kind of thing. But that's a sign of growth in the area. And it's a sign, that people are willing to take on that kind of work, again, to build something, amazing, right? You see all of this behind me. You can see the strip in the distance. I mean, it took, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of people to build all of this that you see behind me. And there are people who die in the process of building these hotels, casinos, and these resorts. There are people who die on the job doing construction work so that once it's built, people can come here and they can enjoy their life and enjoy their time and enjoy their vacation here in town. So thank you to the folks who work in construction and do that type of work. The third group I want to give a big thank you to here in Southern Nevada are teachers. And I'm going to expand this. I initially just wanted to say teachers here in Southern Nevada, but a lot of people who just work, that are school staff in general, okay? Teachers are obviously a big one because there are teachers who are teaching your kids in the classroom every day that they're at school. They're doing what they can to pass on what knowledge, what information they have to your children and give them a good foundation so they can build other skills to wind up having a nice, comfortable life here in the US. So you have lots of great teachers here in Southern Nevada. You have teachers, who would be truly willing to take a bullet to protect your child. I also want to expand this to other staff members, whether it's people who work in the cafeterias of these schools, people who supervise the students when they're just out playing at recess and stuff like that, people who are on after-school programs, school bus drivers. Okay, I've seen school bus driver before in the neighborhood dropping a kid off here at school. Is the last kid in the entire bus. Last kid in the entire bus, saw the kid go to the door, the bus driver waited to make sure this final kid on the bus, of how many they had to drop off that day, made sure the final kid opened the door to the house, got inside, closed the door before the driver left, and he went to go take the bus back and go home after that. So to a lot of people who work in the school system, who do that kind of work, I thank you, I appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of other people here in Southern Nevada appreciate it as well, so a big thank you for that work that you do. The fourth group I wanted to give a shout out to, and a big thank you for the work you do here in Southern Nevada, are our first responders, our civilian first responders, to be a bit more specific. People who are, emergency medical services, firefighters, the police officers, people who do that kind of work in law enforcement, because, in a place called Sin City, where all kinds of stuff happens, all kinds of crazy things happen, oftentimes they get calls and they get called to, crazy things and crazy events that, a lot of things that you probably don't see as much in other cities, or not as often in other cities, just because of the nature of this place, just because of, how Vegas has formed from its early years to what it is today. Even though we're in the desert and, there's not a lot of stuff to burn here, we've had fires on the strip. We've had fires at hotels and casinos here in town before. Lots of people who do EMS, they've had to respond to calls, for people who get way too intoxicated, people who need to get to the hospital, people who become dehydrated, things like that. So they get their fair share of calls in a place that, parties as hard as Vegas does, on pretty much a year-round basis. Law enforcement, again, that even goes without saying, lots of the calls they get on the strip and off the strip around town, they get some dangerous work sometimes that they wind up doing. And a lot of people don't realize that when it comes to law enforcement, even just the everyday traffic stop, okay, just pulling someone over on the side of the road can be one of the biggest wild cards that a police officer will face, because they're walking up to a car and they have no idea what's going on in that car. So it could be any kind of a huge spectrum of scenarios. So, and it can be lonely too. If you pull some car over and, depending on what time of the day it is, where you're at in the area, you may not have backup anywhere near you to help you out if something goes wrong. So there's a certain amount of stress and anxiety that comes along with that, with being a first responder and doing that kind of work. So to the EMS, to the firefighters, to the police, law enforcement, thank you for the work that you do here in Southern Nevada. The fifth group of people I would like to give a big thank you to are self-defense instructors here in Southern Nevada. And this is one I thought of after I thought about thanking the first responders. So thanking the firefighters, thanking medics, thanking police, because people in that line of work respond to a scene as soon as they can. They get the call, they get out there as fast as they can, but it may be several minutes, it may be 3 minutes, 5, 7, 10, 15 minutes or so before someone is to be able to get out there to, come to your aid or come to handle whatever the situation is. So many times you have to be your own first responder in a given situation, because there's just not going to be someone around there to help you immediately when you have a bad situation going on. So to all the self-defense instructors who teach, anything from Taekwondo to kickboxing to just boxing to some general self-defense classes, to concealed carry instructors, to people who teach how to use pepper spray, how to use a knife, how to use a firearm, shooting instructors, anybody along those lines, anybody in that realm, who teaches people that, you have to really be your own first responder until the police can get there, until other services can get there to help you out, that you have to be responsible for that. Thank you for teaching people that. Thank you for offering your course. Thank you for having that business of, helping people out and teaching them how to help themselves in an emergency situation. The sixth and final group that I would love to give a big shout out to for their service, not only here in Southern Nevada, but in the state of Nevada and in the US and all across the world, is the military, our service members. So whether you are Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, active duty reserve, National Guard, whatever the case may be, wherever you fit in that equation, if you're a veteran, thank you for the work you do. Thank you for the work you've done. Thank you for your service. There are times where, we have the president fly in and out of Nellis Air Force Base here. And, obviously that is a big deal when the president of your country comes to your city. So, that can be a stressful task, making sure everything is on point, everything is in order for the president of your country to get in and out of the base safely. So thank you to the military. Thank you to those of you that are members of the military for the work you do. I appreciate everybody that listened to this video. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for just the service you provide here in Southern Nevada, because a lot of this was to give people, to show gratitude to people who often don't get it, you know, who may not get a thank you. Do lots of work that doesn't get recognized. They do work when other people aren't looking, when other people aren't able to see them. They do work that's, you know, not considered to be sexy kind of work, okay? For a city that loves lights and loves glamour and all that kind of stuff, there are a lot of people who do work behind the scenes or do work that you don't see that's not pretty work, but that is important to keeping this city and keeping this economy going here on a local level. So subscribe for more awesome content in the future. I appreciate all of you for watching this video. Thank you for being so awesome. I am Jacob. This is My Life in Vegas.